Trump launched fresh daytime strikes on Iran, only to later soften and walk back parts of his earlier justification as questions rapidly mounted. Iran's chilling warning appears to have forced Washington into damage control after reports of strikes hitting civilian infrastructure spread quickly. The United States is now scrambling to contain the fallout as Iran's retaliation grows deadlier and more relentless with every passing hour. As the IRGC unleashes a fierce onslaught across the Gulf, Trump appears increasingly cornered with few options left to step back. On July 15th, the United States launched a rare wave of broad daylight airstrikes against targets inside Iran, marking a dramatic escalation in the conflict. The U.S. Central Command claimed the 90-minute barrage was aimed exclusively at Iranian military installations across multiple locations. CENTCOM initially insisted that only military facilities were struck, but videos circulating online quickly fueled questions over that narrative. In Iran's Chabahar, a marine control tower was reportedly hit during the July 15 strikes, raising fresh concerns over the scope of the operation. Iran also alleged that a civilian wheat storage facility in Hawizeh was struck a day earlier, accusing Washington of targeting non-military infrastructure. However, the U.S. Central Command flatly rejected Iran's accusations, maintaining that every strike was directed solely at legitimate military objectives. CENTCOM said, and I quote, "Claim, Iranian state media claims that U.S. forces struck a civilian wheat storage facility in Hawizeh on July 14th. This is false. Truth, on July 14th, U.S. forces hit Iranian military targets in Bandar Abbas, Khormuz, Awaz, Keshem, Tun, Bushehr, and Kui stacked to degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran has targeted innocent civilians transiting the strait and in neighboring Gulf countries." End quote. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump warned that additional American strikes against Iran would continue if the situation escalates further.
Has the war resumed?
Well, I guess you could define it any way you want, but certainly we're beating them up really badly. They have to be beat up. We're hitting them very, very hard. We're hitting every single thing that they have along the shore, along the waterfront. I mean, literally 2 days ago, we had a deal, and then they broke it at the last moment. They broke it.
Will these strikes continue?
They'll continue until I say it's enough. I mean, they'll continue. They've been, the word the military likes to use is degrade. They've been degraded to a very low level. But we're going to hit them very hard tonight. We're going to hit them very hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit them very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
When you made the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury, was there a specific piece of intelligence that made you decide to launch this operation?
Well, it was specific in the sense that it just never stops, and they're going to go forward, and they wanted a nuclear weapon. We knew they wanted a nuclear weapon. If they have a nuclear weapon, Israel wouldn't be here. Look,
they said they didn't want a nuclear weapon.
Well, they say that. Everything they say is a lie. They lie. I've never seen anything like it. You better make a deal. You're not going to have anybody left. We're being very careful with the civilian population, as you know, but I said, you better make a deal. You're not going to have anything left.
And you think they will?
They should. I don't know if they will or not.
America's swift rebuttal came only after Iran issued a stark warning that directly challenged Donald Trump over the latest strikes. Iran's foreign ministry warned that any further breach of the memorandum of understanding would trigger a proportionate military response. Iran's foreign ministry said, and I quote, "The other side has violated its commitments and broken its promises from the outset of the memorandum of understanding. And the Islamic Republic will respond proportionately both in the field and in implementing its commitments." End quote. The IRGC has already begun retaliatory action against what it describes as the U.S. naval blockade around the Strait of Hormuz. On July 15th, the IRGC reportedly fired warning shots at 2 vessels attempting to pass through the strategic waterway without complying. Iran also delivered another pointed message to Donald Trump by unveiling a bold new mural in Tehran on July 15th. A new mural depicting U.S. President Donald Trump in a coffin has been unveiled in Tehran, reflecting the raw anger and desire for revenge coursing through Iran's hardline circles. The mural was installed at Tehran's Ingelab Square, a symbolically charged location often used for political messaging and revolutionary imagery. The artwork shows Trump lying in a coffin alongside the phrase "We kill Trump," turning the display into an explicit death threat rather than just a protest image. This installation comes amid mounting hardline calls for revenge after Ali Khamenei's killing, with public art now echoing the rhetoric of retaliation. The mural follows days of escalating military confrontation between Tehran and Washington. America's Gulf allies are now bearing an increasingly heavy cost as Mojtaba Khamenei's campaign of retaliation gathers further momentum. Iran's deadly retaliation has inflicted extensive damage on U.S. military assets across the Gulf, according to newly released satellite imagery. Fresh imagery appears to show a significant section of the U.S. military logistics facility at Oman's port of Duqm suffering extensive damage after the strikes. The IRGC claimed the missile barrage also targeted U.S. aircraft carriers' refueling platforms operating from the strategic port of Duqm. Notably, Oman's port of Duqm lies around 500 kilometers south of the Strait of Hormuz, placing it well within Iran's expanding retaliatory strike envelope. On July 15, the IRGC officially announced a fresh wave of coordinated missile and drone attacks launched across multiple locations in the Gulf region. According to Press TV, U.S. military installations in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan are now bearing the heaviest impact of Iran's expanding retaliation campaign. Iran further claimed that a key U.S. logistics and support hub in Kuwait had been completely destroyed during the latest round of retaliatory strikes. The escalation unfolded as U.S. forces simultaneously launched another wave of strikes targeting multiple Iranian military facilities across the region. For nearly 90 minutes, American forces repeatedly carried out strikes against Iranian military positions on Greater Tunb Island, reports claimed. Iran's retaliation was not confined to Oman, with neighboring Gulf states including Qatar and Bahrain also finding themselves directly in the line of fire. New satellite images reportedly showed damage at the U.S. Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar, according to Iran's main news agency. Satellite imagery company SAW Atlas said the visible damage appeared to be located near a U.S. fighter aircraft maintenance facility. The company assessed that the damage was consistent with what it described as a successful Iranian missile strike on the installation. Al-Udeid Air Base remains the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East and serves as a major regional operations hub. The reported damage came after the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed it had struck key U.S. military facilities inside Qatar. The IRGC said its missile attacks specifically targeted fighter maintenance centers and the command post at Al-Udeid Air Base. SAW Atlas also reported visible damage this week at a U.S. weapons storage facility located in neighboring Bahrain. Iranian forces have additionally claimed responsibility for drone strikes targeting U.S. military positions in both Jordan and Kuwait. The latest claims suggest Iran is attempting to expand military pressure across multiple U.S. bases throughout the Gulf region. Satellite images released by Iranian media show before and after views of locations allegedly hit during Iran's retaliatory attacks. According to Press TV, the imagery focuses on military facilities located in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Military analysts say the images appear to indicate damage at multiple facilities associated with U.S. military operations. Earlier satellite assessments had already pointed to damage involving aircraft hangars, radar systems, and other military infrastructure. The latest imagery has reignited debate over the true extent of damage suffered by U.S. forces during the conflict. Analysts caution that while some of the images have been verified, others have been identified as AI-generated or misleading. As the exchange of strikes continues, the satellite evidence is expected to intensify global scrutiny of the ongoing US-Iran conflict.